Is your customer's vehicle running a little hot under the collar? Well, to get that operating temperature back down to a manageable level, we first have to determine the cause of the overheat itself. That is, if you want it to be a service done right. Today's Service Done Right episode is brought to you by Carter. Learn more at www.carterengineered.com. There are a lot of factors that can cause an engine overheat condition. It's always best to start with a visual inspection, starting at the coolant reservoir. Is the coolant level correct, or is it low? If it is correct, has the customer been adding to the reservoir? These are a few questions you'll need answers to in order to gain diagnostic direction. Coolant just doesn't disappear. If the level in the reservoir is low, the coolant went somewhere, either an external or internal leak in the cooling system. Make a close inspection of the cooling system components, looking for any signs of coolant loss. Pay special attention to the weep hole area on the water pump. Some seepage is normal, but a steady stream of coolant is an indication of a leaking mechanical seal. If the pump has been replaced, it may be designed with a weep well, and the weep hole you're used to seeing may not be readily apparent. The weep well is a design element that helps prevent the unnecessary replacement of a water pump. If normal leakage occurs, it will collect in the well and be allowed to evaporate. But if the seal fails, the weep well will become filled with coolant, and you'll see it seeping out of a hole near the top of the well. So on these designs, if you see coolant coming out of the well, it's a good sign that the seal has failed. If you confirm a bad pump, then consider replacing it with a pump from our sponsor, Carter. Always new, never remanufactured, Carter water pumps will provide you and your customer the peace of mind that only comes with using a quality, performance-proven product. Visit carterengineered.com for more information and access to additional technical resources. If there is no sign of an external leak, then suspect an internal one. You'll be surprised at how many of your customers have leaking head gaskets and don't even know it. There are a number of ways to test for a leaking head gasket, but there are two methods that I particularly like. The first uses a 5-gas analyzer or a CO2 leak detector, like this one made by Automotive Test Solutions, to detect the presence of exhaust gases in the coolant reservoir. Use a fill funnel like this one and place a rag over the top. Allow the engine to reach normal operating temperature, then insert the probe under the rag, but do not put it directly into coolant. If your 5-gas analyzer indicates the presence of unburned HC, that's hydrocarbons, or CO2 in the coolant reservoir, or the CO2 leak detector alarms, well, that's a good indication that exhaust gases are indeed present in the cooling system. Another way is a method I learned from the diesel guys. It's called the bubble test. Connect a pressure tester cap to the cooling system, and instead of running the hose to the pump, connect it to a clear line. Submerge the line into a clear container filled with water. Allow the engine to reach operating temperature while monitoring the jar. Exhaust gases entering the coolant system will exit through the clear line, causing bubbles to form in the clear container. And of course, before you do either test, make sure that you've filled the cooling system to the proper level prior to making the test. Overheating issues can also be caused by things related to coolant flow. This includes restrictions in the cooling system passages, in the heat exchangers, damage to the water pump or water pump impeller, or improper operation of the thermostat. Consider all of these possibilities as you continue your diagnosis. Often you can see visual signs of this where the radiator hoses meet the engine block or thermostat housing. Look for deposits like those shown here. A problem with the thermostat could also lead to an overheat concern. The best way to check it on a late model engine is to perform a time to temperature test using a scan tool. The eScan scan tool offered by Automotive Test Solutions allows me to perform this test directly through the DLC. You can also gauge the thermostat operation by using an IR temperature gun or thermal imager and your scan tool. Specifically, monitor the engine coolant temperature sensor data PID on your scan tool while also monitoring the temperature of the hose where it's connected to the outlet of the thermostat. As soon as you see the temperature begin to rise at the outlet, note the temperature of the ECT sensor, and that'll give you a good idea of the thermostat's opening temperature that you can compare to specifications. A thermostat that opens too soon is as bad as one that opens too late, so if you see any inconsistencies during your test, recommend a replacement. And while you're performing this test, you can also check cooling fan operation. Just allow the engine to continue to warm up while monitoring the ECT PID. Note the temperature the time the cooling fans engage, and if it's much higher than the spec, you need to investigate and diagnose why. And don't forget this little guy. It's the most commonly overlooked component in the cooling system. It should be replaced whenever you perform a cooling system service, but likely it hasn't been. So make sure that you at least test it for not only its ability to seal pressure, but release when its pressure limit is exceeded. The coolant condition itself can be the cause of an overheat condition if the dilution is incorrect or the wrong coolant is being used. You can get an idea of the overall condition of the coolant using a test strip like this one. Pay special attention to the pH level of the coolant. This is an indicator of the condition of the additive package added to prevent rust and corrosion in the system. Many things can cause the additive package to be depleted prematurely, so be sure to address these causes as part of your repair recommendations. And if your customer admits to adding straight coolant or worse yet, tap water to the cooling system, recommend a flush and fill so that you can restore the cooling system and the coolant to its proper condition, regardless of the pH that you measured. An overheat concern can be caused by anything that affects the cooling system's ability to absorb, transport, or dissipate heat. Keeping these factors in mind as you do your visual inspection and continue your troubleshooting will help ensure that you perform a service done right. Thanks for watching.